Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Gupta, Director VIF, has kindly asked me to explain to you the scope and significance of the VIF project on the ancient history of India. This project was conceived in 11 volumes. The work on these volumes is on, and 5 of them have already been published. The main reason why this series was initiated is because of the tremendous significance the study of ancient history plays in general perception of the nation of itself. In India, we have been very much aware of the depth, continuity and diversity of our religious history and the associated philosophy. Unfortunately, we are not so keenly aware of India's achievements in the material field. This is one of the main reasons why this series has been initiated. Now, actually, the sense of the national past has not played a great role in the history teaching and research in our country. In the VIF, we believe in the philosophy nation first, and the orientation of this series is precisely this. We shall try to pursue, frankly speaking, a totally nationalist perspective of ancient Indian history. With these few words, I shall try to describe to you the basic contents of the 5 volumes which have already been published and the basic scope of the remaining 6 volumes. The title of the first volume is Prehistoric Roots. Now, this deals mainly with the Stone Age past of India, or rather the Indian subcontinent. You may ask me, why do you begin with the Stone Age past? The answer is very simple. First of all, India possibly has the richest Stone Age finds anywhere in the world. For instance, the Indian capital, the Aravalli Ridges in and around Delhi, are full of prehistoric sites. You can go out and pick any number of them. Of course, these days ridges are getting destroyed, so the stone tools are not as profuse as they used to be. In any case, there is another dimension of this Stone Age past. You see, the Stone Age people were mostly hunter-gatherers. They used to collect food. Maybe some of them did a lot of specialized collection, but basically it was hunter-gatherer society. Now, we know that hunter-gatherer societies can still be seen in some parts of the country. When I was young, you could see them in larger numbers. If we want to know how these hunter-gatherers used the Indian land for their food and other types of resources, the distribution of these stone tools, research into their origins, etc., these things play a very important role. And human beings have been in India for a very long time. For the last 2 million years, we have been on this stage. Very clear proof is forthcoming from a number of parts of the country, mostly the Shivaliks, and now, as you know, even from the south of the country, where we do not think that the antiquity of the Stone Age tools there would be so high, 1.8 million years ago. Now, in the Stone Age, we find stone tools of different types, which can be arranged in succession. The most important Stone Age type from our point of view is possibly what we call microlithic tools, which are supposed to constitute a Mesolithic age. Now, the Mesolithic way of life, specialized hunting gathering, it has persisted in some parts of the country till recently. And this Mesolithic period throws a lot of light on how agriculture and associated activities developed in the land. This needs a bit of an intricate scientific research, but some crucial answers have emerged in recent years. Mesolithic period is also distinguished by its very rich rock art. In fact, our volume, Prehistoric Roots, has in it a very exhaustive essay on the rock art of the country, very clearly written and possibly the best essay on the rock art of the country that I am aware of. Now, our second volume deals with protohistoric India. It's a fat volume, and when you think that it covers the entire background of the Indus civilization and the growth of agriculture in all parts of the country, we can guess that its contents will be voluminous. We have discussed the growth of agriculture in all parts of the country. Yes, literally in all parts, including the northwest, the Ganga plain, the Nilgiris, everywhere. And now I can say that the growth of the Indus civilization, the stages through which it developed, it is crystal clear. There is no confusion about that. Now, one of the most important parts of features of the Indus civilization is that it covers a very large area of the subcontinent, right from Balochistan and the northern tip of Afghanistan to the areas around Delhi. In fact, I am sure that Indus sites persist as far east as the districts of Etawah and Etah. So, it is a very large civilization, possibly the largest of all the old civilizations of the world. And very interesting data are emerging from that, and we have tried to do full justice to the emerging data in our volume. There is another point about the Indus civilization. As research develops, we have come to believe that it is the Indus civilization which forms the root, the basic backbone of the Indian high tradition. We also have tried to highlight this aspect of the Indus civilization in our volume. You see, there has been a very old debate in the study of ancient India in this context, whether the Indus civilization was Vedic or pre-Vedic, whether it was pre-Aryan or post-Aryan. Now, in our volumes, we have not gone into it except briefly, because these are issues to which a satisfactory answer can never be found. There is no way of saying that Indus civilization is Vedic, simply there is no way of saying that it is post-Vedic. So, all the scholarly opinions, scholarly controversies have been more or less ignored, although references have been made to them. Now, if you read carefully our second volume, Protohistoric India, Protohistoric Foundations, actually, you will see with your own eyes, so to speak, how the modern agricultural base of India developed through the ages, how the foundations were laid down. In all the things that we see or used to see in village India till recently, the house types, agricultural practices, use of raw materials, everything, art, the basis of that was laid down in the protohistoric period, that is, period which ended only around 600 BC, possibly slightly earlier. So from that point of view, this volume is a kind of eye-opener to us, to many of us. Volume 3, it is titled, it's a long title, The Texts, Political History and Administration till circa 200 BC. Now, the texts mean the Vedic texts. You will be surprised to know that we have not discussed the Aryan issue at all, except saying that it is more or less rubbish, and no satisfactory answer, no satisfactory truth will ever emerge out of discussing this problem. So we have left that. We have tried to assess the Vedic literature in its own terms, on the basis entirely of the internal evidence. Some people try to argue that Vedic texts depict a kind of pastoral herding society of cattle herders, basically. Now, that is completely rubbish, and that we have demonstrated in great detail. In fact, there is a lot of confusion about the interpretation of various Vedic terms, and sometimes I wonder if the truth regarding them can ever be satisfactorily established. Now, as historians, our duty was to point out all the confusions. As far as the Vedas are concerned, we have not tried to depict an integrated picture. There are scholars who argue these days the Vedic civilization possibly goes, the Rig Veda possibly goes back to the 6th millennium BC. We don't have any problem with that, but the problem is how to integrate this knowledge with what we know of the later history of India. We do know that historical India, India that we know from the literary sources, emerges essentially in the 6th century BC with the birth of Gautama Buddha, the coming of Alexander, and so on, 6th, 3rd century BC. I myself have written somewhere that the historic India emerged basically between 800 and 500 BC. Now, if you suddenly take the date of the Rig Veda back to 6th millennium BC, we have got a problem in relating it to what we already know of the history of India. So, the people who are trying to date the text so early, they must be ready to explain to us all the missing stages. This they have not done, and have carefully left all these issues out, because we found no virtue in confusing people. We have tried to depict what is basically straight and narrow. Vedic India, the text, the Vedic India or India of the Vedic texts leads us slowly to the Buddhist period, that is the birth of the Buddha and so on, the contemporary India. From now on, we are on very secure grounds. We don't have any special problem about it, and you have tried to do full justice to the range of historical data that we have. Growth of cities, beginning of intensification of agriculture, use of iron in different parts of the country and so on. Trade. This volume ends with the end of the Mauryan period. And as we all know, that there are profuse historical data on the Mauryan period. Third volume, actually not third volume, the fourth and the fifth volumes basically comprise the political history of India, essentially the dynastic history, post-Mauryan dynastic history, and the history of administration. Basically just these two issues, political history and administration. Now, volume 4 is entitled Political History and Administration, circa 200 BC to AD 750, from the end of the Mauryan rule to the beginning of the dominance of regional powers, and volume 5, Political History and Administration, circa 750 AD to 1300 AD, regional powers and their interactions. Plain, straightforward political history covering all the regional dynasties. Now, the volumes which are as yet unpublished comprise the following titles. Volume 6, Social, Political and Judicial Ideas, Institutions and Practices. Volume 7, Economy, Agriculture, Crafts and Trade. Volume 8, Sculpture, Terracottas, Painting, Architecture. Volume 9, Science and Technology, Medicine. Volume 10, Literature and Literary Ideas and Religious and Philosophical Systems. And finally 11, Ancient India's Interrelations with the World, Southeast, East, Central and West Asia, the eastern coast of Africa and the Mediterranean world. As will be obvious from the titles mentioned above, that the scope of our series is very comprehensive and it covers virtually all the major aspects of the history of ancient India. The last time such a series was conceived was in the 1950s and 1960s. After that, nothing on this scale has been attempted. A lot of research has been done in the meantime. Archaeology has progressed beyond belief, although I am very critical of the way archaeology is pursued or rather has been pursued in our country. I can't deny that as far as the knowledge of new data is concerned, we have advanced tremendously. So, the historical knowledge based on this research has to be incorporated, and our series is the first attempt to incorporate all the archaeological informations into historical knowledge. Secondly, as I began by saying, our approach is purely nationalist. There was a time when most of the things in our country were explained in terms of contacts with other areas, West Asia for instance. I am rather fond of quoting this opinion just to give you an idea of what was the state of affairs till recently. A famous professor of the Deccan College, Pune, declared in writing that India was always a colony, because he thought that all the discoveries which are made in India, right from prehistory to the modern period, were all derived from the West. Now, this attitude is no longer there. In fact, these volumes will stand testimony to the fact that India also played her due in the Committee of Nations. Many important discoveries are made in India, and India can be proud of various things. For instance, metallurgy and mining. Indian steel was about the best in the world till recently, till the beginning of the modern industrial phase, and so on. So, from the point of view of approach, I mean, this is a very distinctive series. Well, the main task in hand is to complete the series as fast as possible, as early as possible. Volume 6 has been proofread, indexed, so it's up to the publisher to get it out, and volume 7 is being proofread. So hopefully within the next two and a half years, all the volumes will be published. We take contribution from various people, so the quality of articles is not uniform. It can never be uniform. And all that we claim is that we are trying to offer the best knowledge which is available. That's about it. I can't say that it's a perfect series. Still, it's a very good series. With these few words, I bid you goodbye. Thank you.